Hi, my name is Soren. I am currently a senior at Apple Valley High School. Tonight I have been asked to share my name, something that is very personal to me. The reason I'm sharing it with you today is because it's more of an uncommon name, but it is very important to me. I am Scandinavian, and it is a very common name in many Scandinavian countries, and the meaning behind it is the god of thunder, and the Latin meaning is stern, severe, and strict. Your name is really important to you as a person, not just to me, but I'm sure to a bunch of other people. And something that is really important is when someone pronounces your name right or says it correctly. Like I've been called Siren or Sorin or Soran. When they say Soren, it makes me feel happy inside because my name is a big part of me and something that's really important in my life, especially because it has a lot of meaning behind it for me. It's part of my heritage, and I actually have an uncle who is also named Soren, which is where my parents originally got it from. And my dad is more Scandinavian than my mom, and he was one who thought of my name.
As you came in today, you wrote down the names of everyone you could think of who is important in your life. Your friends, your classmates, your family, your teammates, all the people that you know in a personal way. You know these people's names because they mean something to you, right? And if you're anything like me, you hope that you mean something to them in return. That's why it stings when people don't get your name right. I mean, is there anything worse than someone forgetting your name or getting it wrong? It's especially painful when they should know you, but still can't manage to get your name right. One of my friend's dads always called me the wrong name. He always said one of our other friends' names, and he still does sometimes. Or at Starbucks, they always spell my name wrong. It's always Diana or Diane or something with extra letters. Now, these people don't know me super well, and the people who are most important to me do know my name. But my name is central to who I am as a person. It's special to me. And I have been the one to forget a name too, and it feels bad. At an event in college, I thought I was meeting someone for the first time. I said, "Hey, what's your name?" And he responded, "I've met you like 3 times. Yikes. Has that ever happened to you? It's a terrible feeling because I think we can all agree. We don't want fake friends. Friends who feel the need to pretend around us, who don't care as much as they act like they do, or who don't even really know us well at all. We all want more than that. We want our relationships to be personal. The reality is, we all want to be known by name. It makes us feel important. It helps us feel seen. When someone knows our name, it's a sign that they know us, and that feels personal. Some of you may have grown up hearing that God knows your name. There are a bunch of examples in the Bible about how God knows us that closely. Like when Jesus says this, "Indeed, the very hairs of your head are all numbered." From Luke 12:7. Seriously, that's about as personal as it gets. But some of us struggle to believe that God knows us personally. Maybe he doesn't seem personal to you because you can't see him or hear him talk back to you when you pray. Or maybe you don't really know or even care much about God, so it feels strange to think that he would know your name and care about you. Maybe you've met Christians who don't seem to care about getting to know you, so you assume that God feels the same way. Or maybe you think God doesn't seem personal because he's just so big and powerful. By comparison, you feel small and insignificant. Certainly not important enough for God to take a personal interest in you. Well, these are some real and understandable reasons to think that God couldn't possibly know us by name. I believe that God does. And here's why I think that. Jesus lived on this earth to show us what God is like. And Jesus got personal with everyone he met. He knew their names and their stories. To show you what I mean, We're going to take a look at an encounter Jesus had while he was on earth with a guy named Zacchaeus. It's found in the Gospel of Luke, which was written by one of Jesus' early followers. Now let me set the scene. Jesus was coming into town of Jericho with a crowd all around him. By this time in his ministry, he had become very well known. People had heard Jesus teach amazing things and seen him perform miracles, heal the sick, and even raise a man from the dead. So Jesus was a pretty big deal. And as Jesus was passing through this crowd, someone caught his eye and caused him to stop. This is where we meet Zacchaeus. He had a totally different reputation than Jesus. Zacchaeus was a tax collector. And at this time in history, nobody liked tax collectors. They were notorious for collecting more money from people than they actually owed and keeping the extra for themselves. And this guy was the chief tax collector, the worst of the worst. Zacchaeus had noticed the crowd and wanted to see what all the fuss was about. He wanted to see Jesus for himself. But because he was too short to see over the crowd, he ran ahead and climbed a sycamore tree along the route that Jesus was taking. So Luke describes what happened next. When Jesus reached the spot, he looked up and said to him, "Zacchaeus, come down immediately. I must stay at your house today." Think about this. Out of a huge crowd of people, Jesus stopped and called out just one guy. Zacchaeus. Jesus called his name. Remember, Zacchaeus was not popular with this crowd, and he knew it. He probably knew that Jesus knew it too. So to have Jesus not just notice him, but call him by name, that was a pretty big deal. That was personal. In that one moment, using just one word, Jesus communicated that Zacchaeus was seen, known, and valuable to Jesus, no matter what anyone else thought of him, no matter what he thought of himself. And this is how Jesus sees us. He not only knows our name, but he calls it out. He sees us for who we are, valuable creations of a loving and personal God. When Jesus calls you by name, he is inviting you into a relationship with him. And when you accept that invitation, the relationship becomes real. It becomes personal. A personal relationship began for Zacchaeus when Jesus knew his name. And the same is true for you. It's personal because Jesus knows your name. So what does this mean for you? How does this change the way you see yourself or Jesus or other people? For some of you, it might begin with taking one step towards knowing more about Jesus. Zacchaeus climbed a tree to get a glimpse of Jesus. That was his first step towards personally experiencing Jesus. So maybe you need to take a step to get to know more about Jesus in a real and personal way. Ask questions about Jesus or talk to your small group leader about some of the things that might be holding you back. Or you can start by reading the story of Zacchaeus on your own and thinking about what it means for you. Whatever it is, take a step to help you know the one who knows your name. Others of you know Jesus in a personal way. You've stepped into a relationship and you know the value of being close to a personal God who knows your name. Because of what Jesus did for you, you can do the same for others. You see, Jesus doesn't just invite us into a relationship with him. He invites us into relationships with others. Check out the command he gives to his followers. Jesus said, "Love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind." This is the first and greatest commandment. And the second is just like it. Love your neighbor as yourself. In this passage, Jesus told us to first love him and second to love others, to make it personal with the people in our lives. And here's why that's a big deal. The people around you may not know God cares about them personally until you care about them personally. The best way to do this starts with some of the easiest steps you've ever heard. Number 1, learn their names. And number 2, use their names when you see them. I get it. This seems almost too easy, but that's why it's a big deal. Knowing someone's name is the simplest yet most important thing we can do to communicate that someone matters. We have a personal God. God happens to be a personal God who is also mind-blowingly powerful, ridiculously creative, and full of amazing grace. But God still knows you and calls you by name. One of the greatest ways that we can point people to this kind of personal God is by connecting with them in personal ways. And that's why we have small groups. We want StuMin to be a place where you feel seen, known, and valued. A place where we know your name. A place where it feels personal. So, before we head into small group time, let's pray. God, thank you that you know us by name. You call us by name to be the hands and feet of Jesus to those around us. Help us to be more like Jesus by knowing each other's names and by caring for and loving one another.